first 4 licks. So that first lick, we're on the 3rd string. I suggest you use your middle finger so that after the slide, your first finger is ready to drop onto where it needs to be. So middle finger, 2nd to 4th fret, and that's a slide. And then your first finger drops on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string and plays that. 2nd lick. So what I'm doing there is we've just done this lick and our fingers are where we need them to be. I need to make a point here just to let you know something. When beginners play, they tend to play things like this. Right? I'm kind of over exaggerating, but they play a note and then they take, almost like they're trying to take the fingers as far away from the strings. You never want to do that. You want to be aiming for minimum effort for maximum impact. So if I need to say this 3rd string, I don't want to leave it ringing out. Like sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Have a listen to this. That's one note after the other. I stop that as soon as I start that note. Now it could be, now that's letting this first note ring out and they play together. So you get that sound. And it could be really messy if you just leave them on. Now that's not how the solo sounds. And the thing I'm wanting to let you know is that I'm going to move my fingers away further than I normally would so that you can see what I'm doing. I'll do that for the camera, but this is how I'd normally play it. And from your point of view, that could be, that's on, now it's off. And you can probably hardly see the difference between on and off. So I just want to make that point. Minimum effort for maximum impact. Move your fingers as little as possible. I'm going to move my fingers away a bit more than I normally would so that the camera can give you the clearest possible view. Right, let's get on with it. First lick. We're now on 2nd lick, where it's 5th fret 2nd string, 4th fret 3rd string, 3rd fret, sorry, did I say 4th fret? I meant 4th fret 3rd string, then 3rd fret 2nd string. That's the 2nd lick. 3rd lick, we're moving our hand here. It needs to be in this position because we're doing a double pull off. We're going to pulling off from the 4th to the 2nd to the open of the 3rd string, and then we're playing the open 4th string. So this 3rd lick sounds like this. And I'm doing a lot of dampening. Again, that's a lovely sound. You decide whether you want to hear both strings or not. 4th lick is on the 5th string. I do it with a slide. So I slide from the 1st fret to the 2nd fret of the 5th string and then the 4th string open. I think David, as in Gilmour, tends to go like that. So the 4 licks, one after the other. Whoops. Now, next I'm going to get into how I suggest you go about practicing those licks. I wanted to give you them quickly though, for anybody who just wants to see them as fast as possible. So here I'm going to start bringing into play my metronome, and I wanted to make a couple of points here. One is, have the metronome going faster the harder you find it. But what that means is that it doesn't mean, you know, the metronome's going faster so you go faster. If you think about it, if we've got a fairly slow beat, then we'd count it 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's quarter beats. Now at the same tempo, 8th beats would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. double it up again, and you've got 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, which is how we count 16th beats. So if you can, the ideal, I would suggest with this piece, is that you're going to be on 16th beats. So here my metronome's about as slow as I can make it, which is about 50 BPM, somewhere around there. My metronome doesn't really go much slower than that. It's a very old one. So if you can't count it in time, you won't be able to play it. So this is how I'd count this. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E. I'm going too fast, notice. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a da 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 da. So don't count numbers. Just go da 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 da. And that, you do that in your head, you get your internal metronome counting 4 for every one of them. So this is the ideal. So what I've done is I've taken the bit I want to practice, which just happens to be that very first lick, and I'm looping it so that it's constantly in time. I'm not, I'll have to turn this off because otherwise I will play in time with it. I'm not going indeterminate amount of time, indeterminate amount of time, you know. I'm not stopping and starting and stopping and starting. You want to be always playing in time as much as possible, everything you do, whether it's practice or making music. So I know, because I've taught this so many times. I mean, yeah, the only reason I know this is because I've taught it so many times. So when I have this, so I'm analysing and thinking, and that's fine when you want to understand things, but when you're playing, you want to be thinking as little as possible. So if I have that click, and I'm going basically 4 clicks. Then basically the first 2, I'm not doing anything. Now I'm going to give it numbers for your understanding, but I really suggest you don't do this because because it's complicated and it's just too much thinking. But if I go 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 1E and a 2, 1E and a 2, 1E and a 2, 1E and a 2, 1E and a 2. Pardon me. Sorry. So I'm just making the point that the first 2 16th beats are rests. And then I'm playing on the 3rd, 1E and so that's and that's 2 16th beats and 2. So if you find it difficult, if you cannot do that, right, which most beginners will not be able to do that, then what you do is you speed your right up. So I was going 1E under. So we want click, 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 click. So that's my metronome almost as fast as it will go. But I'm not going to practice this. I'm not going to play it any faster. So I've made it into a loop. I'm taking the first 2 licks. If I was thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, yeah? Then I'm making these 2 licks fit that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So, sorry, I'm fitting 2 bars there. I don't think I can count at the same time as doing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Gosh, I found that difficult, but I did just about manage it. So if you're an absolute beginner and you really find it hard to play in time, set the metronome faster. So that metronome is now playing 16th beats, whereas when I practiced it, I was doing quarter beats. Obviously, somewhere in the middle between the two, the metronome would be on 8th beats. So if we're counting that as 8 beats, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So you can see there, that was, actually a very slow tempo, probably the slowest I've done yet, with this showing you how I encourage you to practice, okay? So the ideal is you have the metronome clicking as slowly as possible, basically, so that you can lean as heavily as possible on your own internal metronome. Because what you're trying to do is develop your own internal metronome so that you don't need any external metronome. But when we practice, it really is, you're not going to develop a good sense of timing without playing along with something that's perfectly in time, i.e. metronomes and drum beats. Yeah, that's it really. That's how I encourage you to practice those first 4 licks with a metronome. You now have the first 4 licks and my suggestions for how to practice them. I just wanted to summarise 3 or 4 tips for how to practice, because as much as anything, that is the topic of today's video. So, number 1 tip. You want to be almost laser focused upon the bit that you're stuck on. You know, whatever it is that prevents you from making music, whatever it is that prevents you from playing in time. It's usually a chord change or a note you can't quite get to or something you can't do well enough. So don't practice the whole thing, just home in, break it down. So that's tip number 1, is break it down to this one little bit. This is the bit that I need to master and that I'm struggling with. Tip number 2, round it up to the nearest beat, half bar, bar, maybe even 2 bars. What I'm saying there is this suggestion that instead of practice the lick, stop, indeterminate amount, practice the lick, stop, stopping, starting. What I mean by rounding it up is creating a lick, creating a loop. That's what I mean. Creating a loop that when you play the loop again and again and again, you are making music, because that's what we want to be doing. So that's tip number 2. Tip number 3, I haven't mentioned yet, but I tend to find that people, I don't know why, they almost like to look at pieces of paper. I had a student yesterday, and I haven't seen him for over a month because of work commitments. And I gave him 4 or 5 chords. I gave him the tab for 4 or 5 chords. Over a month later, he still doesn't know any of them without looking at the piece of paper. And I'm not trying to put him down or badmouth him. I'm simply using this as an example of how we tend to. I've seen it with almost every student. So get rid of the paper as soon as possible. Commit it to memory as soon as humanly possible. That's tip number 3. Bonus tip for you is make it work for you. Rather than doing something really badly, you've got to make a judgment call. Do I practice this now until I can do it how I want to do it? That's one choice. Do I do it badly? That's another choice. Or do I do what I'm suggesting you do, which is make it work for you? Like, rather than doing a bend where you're bending to the wrong note because you can't do the bend, instead of a bend, do a slide. Slides are generally easier than bends. Today, that first lick, the first thing is a 2-fret slide, which I find easy, loads of people find easy, and loads of beginners that I've taught just do not find it easy. So if you can't do at the moment a 2-fret a 2-fret slide, do a 1-fret slide instead. That's what I mean by make it work for you. That's it pretty much. I do have one more thing for you. So what I thought I'd do is, for those of you who are more competent players, ninja level practice. Let's have a look at what I mean by that. Right, we have the metronome going pretty much, you know, as slowly as possible. Certainly it's going to play quarter beats, and we are on a slow tempo. And what makes it ninja really is we're going to combine the rhythm and the lead guitar with these first 4 licks. So in my head, I'm going, and you might want to do as I did just there, and just check that every 4 you're perfectly in time with the metronome, because you probably need to do that before you start. Here goes. Getting ahead of myself, sorry, I couldn't resist. So that's what I'm suggesting is ninja level practice, and I encourage you to aim for it. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope you found it useful. I've really wanted to focus on how to practice effectively, and I hope you feel like you've moved forward with that. Tomorrow I'll move on with this solo, and I'll probably do the whole of the rest of this solo tomorrow, because I won't be taking so much time in wanting to show you how to practice it. So please do like, share, comment, share, like, comment, share. Oh, subscribe down below. Lord knows I need the help. I'm naively hoping that I might be able to monetize my channel by the time I hit retirement age and not die as a penniless musician. So please do help me in that quest. Take care. Hopefully see you tomorrow. Bye.